shoes and out the door. 5, I'm alive. 6, 7, 8, feeling great. 9, gonna shine, life is good. I'm doing fine. 10, gonna do it right and do it again, yeah. I look into the sky with all the beautiful color, but there's more than just for me, so gonna share it with another. I got to show, to give, let out. I want to sing and shout. Take a look and see a beautiful morning that turns into a beautiful evening, and together make a beautiful life. And if you wanna,
I've been in here and people are roaring with laughter, so
It's a dirty show, though.
well, it's clean dirt.
Forgive me, but the best restaurants of the world are here in Vegas. I mean, you have here the best of the best.
Yes.
So we have many celebrities here. The Harley Madison come over here, and the Usher come over here many often, and the Paris Hilton come here, and Britney Spears came over here like 2 weeks ago.
Boy, I'm dating myself, but it's okay. Nobody else will. Oh.
That's so Vegas. Welcome to That's So Vegas on this really hot and really humid last day of August, wouldn't you say? It's a bit hot and humid out there. I'm Christine McKellar, your host. We're live here at the WCOBM studio right off of the fabulous Las Vegas Strip South. And my guest today is a man of many diverse, interesting background. Sitting right beside me here is none other than Frank Cullotta. You have a history really embedded in Vegas because you were attached with the mob, the real mob, the true mob. None of that phony stuff. You've got great stories to tell about that. You were also a consultant and didn't you have a part in the Casino, the movie? Or were you strictly as a technical consultant?
I was that, and I also had several roles in the movie, acting roles, if that's what you want to call them.
Right, but you had to advise people a lot, I thought.
Yeah, I used to sit right next to Martin Scorsese.
Ooh.
And one of them director chairs, which people couldn't figure out who I was, sitting in that spot, and I'd tell him what was right and what was wrong. And that's what I was there for.
And Joe Pesci was in the movie as well, wasn't he?
Yeah, Joe Pesci played Tony Spilaccio.
Yep.
And Frank Vincent portrayed me.
But you were pretty close with Tony Spilaccio.
I grew up with Tony, 12 years old. We used
Really?
to shine shoes together.
Did you? And
Yeah.
that was in Jersey or
Chicago.
Chicago. That must have been something.
Well, then I could call that the good old days.
Yeah. And you actually, so were you both, did you get into the mob life? Let's be blunt here. It was a life of crime, wasn't it, pretty much?
There's no doubt about it.
No doubt about it.
I was a product of my environment, actually. I grew up in a neighborhood where there were nothing but thieves and gangsters. And they were like my, idols. And this is what I followed. I tried to follow in their footsteps.
Times were tough back then. It was post-Depression.
Yes,
and
it was. For my parents,
Of course. So they couldn't provide the luxuries and the comfort, and kids were probably out playing in the streets. And what do kids do out in the streets? They get into trouble, kind of, right?
That's right.
So you had a neighborhood kind of posse, as we'd call it today, that you hung out with?
Oh, yeah, everybody sat in front of their house and all the grease balls. It was good.
On the stoop.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. It was the good old days. In a way, you miss them.
Right.
People were more closer with one another.
Right, and the families all knew each other.
Everybody knew each other, whether you were Polish, Irish. I grew up in a neighborhood there weren't any blacks or Mexicans or Puerto Ricans, and I learned more about different ethnic groups as I grew older.
Right.
And went to school with them.
Yeah, with today's political climate, we talked a little bit about politics before the show started, but everybody's calling everybody names and stuff, and it's just, it's like this whole ethnic thing.
They're a bunch of phonies.
Yeah, I think they all are. Great minds think alike. So as you grew up, now Tony became what you would call a capo, a boss, correct? And you became a lieutenant.
Well, that's the terms they use. We never use them type of terms in real life. Tony always wanted to be a boss of the Chicago outfit, which you would call the syndicate or the mafia. We called it the outfit. And he always wanted to be. I didn't. I resisted it for many, many years.
You didn't like being dictated to, or what was?
I just didn't like to be controlled.
Uh-huh.
I wanted to make my own money and not answer to somebody else. Or I wanted to drive the cars I wanted to drive. If I wanted to drive a Cadillac, I could drive a Cadillac. If I was in the outfit, I'd have to drive a Chevy or a Ford.
Why was that? They just
Keep
had
a low
certain-
profile. Everything was low profile, you know.
Oh.
And they were right. Or actually, even as a thief, I should have drove a car like that. But I didn't. I just wanted to have nicer things.
And none of it was malicious, was it, when you were doing that? And may we call them petty crimes at that
Well, when I
point in
started
time?
out, they were petty.
Uh-huh.
As you get older, of course, you advance. You get bigger robberies. And malicious, like, you know, like, we never hurt nobody that didn't ask to be hurt.
Oh, right. Okay.
What I'm trying to
That's
say is,
fair.
I didn't say to you, take this money and you got to give me so much interest a week. You came to me and you were forewarned that if you don't pay, this could happen.
Right. Something would break.
Yeah, something would break, and most of the time they would listen, and sometimes they didn't listen.
And so you had to teach them a lesson,
Well, somebody did.
an enforcer.
They had to grow up somewhere or another.
Yeah, it's
Like you reprimand your kid, you know?
well, it's called discipline. Of course, you can't take it too far.
No.
But yeah, but you have to have some discipline when you say. And speaking of discipline, what is it about your personality do you think that is advanced you within that structure? You must have had some trait. Well, number one, you were Tony's friend, but also there must have been some trait in your character.
Well, I was always been very loyal, and very generous. Whereas most people would walk away from a guy that had no money and he was on his butt, I would take this guy and make him some money. Well, the reason why a lot of people wouldn't work with a guy that had no money, you know, like steal or keep him with them, is because then they knew they'd have to pay for the bond if you got busted, the lawyer's fees. I didn't look at that stuff. I just figured we weren't going to get busted.
Right.
So I took them, you know, whoever it might be, and I made them money. And
So you
it
gave them the
always
tools.
hurt in the end. I always got screwed in the end.
You did or they did?
I did.
Oh.
You know, you try to take care of somebody, and they never did appreciate it. That's
No.
one of my biggest downfalls.
But you kept doing it, though, didn't you? I
I kept on feeling sorry for people.
Uh-huh. Yeah. So there must have been some a structure within the outfit. Loyalty as a whole was important, right? But you had a personal level of loyalty.
Well, there was a lot of loyalty in the outfit, or you wouldn't be in it.
I guess
For one
not.
thing, you had to be. You can't steal from them. You have to give them a good count, and that all amounts to stealing. You know, count means money, and respect. A lot of respect. You had to give a lot of respect. If they deserved it, you know, some guys you didn't like, but you still give them that respect.
Yeah, that's interesting. So that's
Well,
probably
because they had a little bit more power than you, and you get away with a little bit more.
yeah, you didn't want to end up.
I became a boss when I came to Vegas.
Now was Tony already here? Is that they had
Yeah.
a game plan to come to Vegas? And
Tony was here, and I was in prison. And when I got out in 1974, he paid a couple of visits, at least 5 visits back to Chicago, and he kept on asking me to come out to Vegas.
Huh.
I had a big nightclub, and at the time I didn't want to come out. And about this time they were killing a lot of crooks in Chicago.
Oh, okay. I think we've all read and heard things.
Yeah, it was real bad. But that still didn't force me to leave. But I got told finally from Joe Lombardo that when you're going to move to Vegas next week. So I packed my bags, got rid of the place, and moved to Vegas.
Oh, that is something. I've heard stories like that. When is it going to happen? And then they
Yeah.
tell you when it's going to happen. We got to take a quick break. I have to give a shout out.
I was just
to my
having
sponsor.
fun.
Well, it's not over yet. We'll be back in 5 minutes. Do not go away. Quick shout out to the Red Roof Inn on Paradise Across from the Hard Rock. We'll be right back. Don't go away or we'll get you.